Hello everyone. Today I want to give my thoughts on the book X-Men, Cyclops, and Phoenix by Paul Mantell and Avery Hart, based on comics by Scott Lobdell. This is a young reader's novel. It only took me about 2 hours to read, and it's a pretty good book. It's not nearly as good as some of the other Marvel books I've been reading, like The Venom Factor, Spider-Man, and Hulk, What Savage Beast. But those are adult books with more complex storylines, whereas this is a children's book. It's not a children's book, it's a young reader's, or young adult. I'm sorry, young adult. So I'd say, it'd be in the same level of reading as, like, Harry Potter. And it's a good book. It doesn't have any, like, super interesting storylines. No fucked up shit. I love fucked up shit. Like the Hulk book, that book had some fucked up shit in it. This book doesn't have any of that. But it's still an interesting book. It kept me turning the pages, and that's what matters. Any book that keeps me turning the pages is a good book, pretty much. It has some interesting stuff in it. It's mostly about Cyclops and Phoenix, Scott Summers and Jean Grey. There's also a lot about their son, which is kind of their son. It's a little bit complicated. It's Scott Summers' son, and then also like a clone of Jean Grey, I believe. But anyways, their son is Cable, who grows up to be Cable in Deadpool. He works with Deadpool a lot. He's a character I don't know a whole lot about, so it's cool to kind of learn a little bit about him. I didn't know that Jean Grey and Scott Summers were his parents, so that's kind of cool to learn. But anyways, what it's about is Cyclops and Phoenix are on their honeymoon, and then they get transported to the future to raise Cable in like a future that's like dominated by Apocalypse. And so they raise up Cable because Cable's supposed to be the one who can defeat Apocalypse and turn the world right again. So it's a pretty interesting plot line. One thing that kind of made me think a little bit, it reminded me of Inception a bit, because they're on their honeymoon. They get teleported to the future, and they're in these like alternative bodies, kind of I guess they take over like the bodies of people who are their ancestors, or they're down the line from them because it's way in the future. But anyways, they take over these new bodies, and then they live in this future universe for 10 years, raising their son Cable. And then they get transported back. This is just a little bit of spoilers, but not really. They get transported back to right where they were on their honeymoon. And it kind of makes me think of Inception, because, they lived for 10 years in this alternative life, and then they're reverted back to their normal life. And it makes me think about Inception, because, Inception, the idea was if you go too far into a dream, all of a sudden you'll live that dream life, and, I can't remember the specifics of it, but like you die in that dream life and then you wake up in your real life, but your brain kind of turns to mush because you've lived a full life already. So you kind of go crazy when you wake up from your dream and you're back in your normal life because you were living in that dream world. So it kind of makes me think about that. I mean, granted, these are superheroes, so maybe they have superhero minds that can deal with that better, but it's like they live a certain way for 10 years, and 10 years is a long time, and then they go back to just their normal life, like where they were 10 years ago. I don't know. They didn't really touch on that at all, and I kind of wish they had. But it's a pretty good book. There's a little bit about Apocalypse in it. Apocalypse, I pretty much only know about him from the movie that came out last year, I think. So that was cool. Cable is interesting to learn about. I got to learn more about Cable because he did so much with Deadpool. So I'm looking forward to learning more about him. But overall, it was a pretty good book. If you're a fan of the X-Men or Cyclops and Phoenix, it's probably worth your time. I got it for really cheap on Amazon. Like I said, it's a young reader's book or a young adult book. It only took me 2 hours to read, so it was pretty cool. Anyways, that's what I think. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.